Okay, this video is just going to be a review of slope, something that you already know a lot about. So you should have this slope review sheet in front of you, and we're going to go through a couple of examples together, and I'm just going to kind of refresh your brain on what you already know about slope. So let's start at the top here. We have 4 different examples of slope, and we're just going to classify what their slope would be. So this line here is increasing, so you should recognize that it should be a positive slope. Okay, this line here is decreasing, going downhill, so you should recognize that that should be a negative slope. Okay, these last two are the ones that people get the most confused about. And this one, a horizontal line, slope is 0. And you can help remember that by the fact that the 0 has an O in it, and then horizontal has our O. But also, if you notice, nothing's changing. There's no rise. Okay, so no rise in that gives us a 0 slope. And a vertical line has an undefined slope. Okay, so next thing you need a little refresher on is finding slope. And you're going to have to be able to find slope in just these 2 ways, using a graph and using the ordered pairs. And to use a graph, we are just going to use rise over run. Okay, and you can count on the graph. So we'll start with maybe an example from the graph. So here, if you notice, they have my points A and B labeled. So I just need to count the rise and the run. So let's look at this first example here. Okay, so I need to figure out how far apart up and down A and B are. So I'm going to count the rise. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So M is equal to 4 over the run is how far apart they are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Then I want to make sure with what we just talked about up there, this is a positive line, has a positive slope, so this number is a positive. Okay, do one more example. First thing I would look at here is notice that this is a negative, so I know my slope needs to be a negative. Okay, so now I need to count how far up and down they are apart. So I would have 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then left and right, or the run, is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 over 6. And that can be simplified. So the slope of this line is really negative 1/2. Okay, this one, number 3, you really shouldn't have to calculate the slope of. What is this? It's a vertical line. We know that their slope is undefined. Okay, this one is a horizontal line, and so the slope should be 0. Okay, so that is using a graph to find slope. We just went through 4 examples of that. Okay, these bottom 2, 3, and 4, you're just going to need to be able to recognize. These top 2, you just need to remember that you count rise and run. Okay, so now let's go over here and look at when you're given ordered pairs, how do you find the slope? Well, you should use that the slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so let's do an example here. Find the slope of AB. So the slope is equal to, now you need to remember that this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm supposed to do y2, which is negative 1, minus y1, which is 5, all over x2, which is 6, minus x1, which is minus a negative 2. 1 minus, or negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6. 6 minus negative 2 is 8. I can simplify that to be negative 3/4. Okay, I'm going to let you pause the video right now. So you need to pause, and I want you to go ahead and try to do 6, 7, and 8 all on your own. So please pause the video right now, and you should be using this formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I want you to try to find the slopes for 6, 7, and 8. And then I'm going to put the answer key up in a minute. So pause the video and try those 3 problems. Okay. So number 6, you should have gotten a slope of 2. Okay. Number 7, you should have got a slope of undefined, because when you do this, you end up with 6 in your numerator on the top, 0 in your denominator or the bottom, and you cannot divide by 0. If you try to do that on your calculator, you would get an error. You can't have something and divide it by nothing. So that's why this one is undefined. So notice where the 0 is. And then here is number 8, and you should have gotten a slope of 0. Notice the difference between those last two. It's undefined when you have a 0 in your denominator, and it's 0 when you have a 0 in your numerator. Okay, so that was just a quick review on slope. Now you're going to do a couple of problems just practicing finding slope both from a graph and from ordered pairs.